After decades of talking, studying, promising, arguing, and then studying some more, the country is actually, finally, going after its first ever high-speed rail network. Yes, you heard that right. Canada, the only G7 country with zero high-speed rail, is about to join the 21st Century Transportation Club. And honestly, it was about time. Because if you've ever tried to get from Toronto to Quebec City, you already know. It's brutal. You're looking at an 8-hour drive, a 9-hour train crawl, or the privilege of paying for a short flight that somehow still manages to take half your day after security, boarding, taxiing, delays, and existing airports. But imagine slicing all of that down to a smooth, clean 3-hour ride. No turbulence, no white-knuckle winter driving, no airport security lines that make you question humanity. Just hop on, relax, maybe sip a coffee, and boom, you're there. That's the promise of Alto, Canada's brand new multi-billion-dollar megaproject. And yes, multi-billion might actually be underselling it. The projected cost is so massive that even Canadians, who are already used to eyebrow-raising price tags on infrastructure, kind of froze mid-maple syrup drizzle when they heard it. But before we dive into the number that made the whole country collectively gasp, let's talk about what this thing actually is. Alto is the name chosen for the project, along with the state-owned corporation created specifically to build it. Justin Trudeau announced it on February 19, 2025, just 1 month after saying he'd be stepping down. And honestly, what a final move. If you're going to bow out, dropping the biggest infrastructure project in national history on your way off stage is one heck of a mic drop. Canadians had been aware since 2022 that something might be brewing in the high-speed rail department. But until that February announcement, no one knew anything specific. And then suddenly, boom, 1,000 kilometers of new track, 7 major stations, a brand new electric corridor slicing through the country's most populous and most industrialized region, the Quebec City-Windsor corridor. That stretch alone packs in around 18 million people, nearly half the country's population. For the first time ever, cities like Quebec City, Trois-Rivières, Montreal, Ottawa, and Toronto could be connected in a way that actually respects the 21st century. The trains? We're talking 300 kilometers per hour, 186 miles per hour. Nearly double the speed of Canada's current fastest trains, which top out at a very humble 100 miles per hour. And once Alto is running, that punishing Quebec City-Toronto slog drops from nearly 9 hours to just 3. That's not an improvement. That's a rewrite of how Canadians move, work, travel, and even see their own country. But okay, let's get to the part that really made headlines: the cost. Canadians had already known the planning phase alone would cost 3.9 billion Canadian dollars, which by itself would be a monumental project that was just the paperwork stage. But once the full project was unveiled, we learned the total cost is expected to land somewhere between 80 billion and 120 billion Canadian dollars. Let that sink in for a moment. No project in Canadian history even comes close. The previous record holder was the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, sitting at 34 billion. Alto could triple that. Naturally, people had questions, lots of questions, but the buzz didn't die down because the potential upside is enormous. The entire corridor will be fully electrified. Freight and passenger rail will be separated, meaning fewer delays and more reliability. Most of the trips along the line will actually beat air travel once you factor in the full airport experience. And in a country where driving distances are measured like they're quests from a fantasy novel, improving intercity mobility is more than just convenient. It could fundamentally reshape the economy. But here's the thing. Canadians aren't exactly eager to trust promises about rail, not after the last 50 years. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Canada has been trying and failing to build high-speed rail since the 1960s. Yes, the 1960s, back when cassette tapes were cutting-edge tech. The first attempt was the turbo train, which, believe it or not, still holds Canada's rail speed record from 1976. That alone should tell you everything half a century later, and Canada's fastest train is still one that retired in 1982. The turbo train could theoretically hit 170 miles per hour in the US, but in Canada, it could only manage 140. And that wasn't its only problem. It ran on shared tracks with freight trains, which is basically the transportation equivalent of trying to run a Ferrari down a rural farm road behind tractors. Riders complained about noise and jerky turns, journalists panned it, and after 14 years, it was gone. After that, Canadians entered the study era. Study after study rolled out showing how incredible high-speed rail would be. The economic benefits, the reduced emissions, the convenience, the efficiency, and yet, nothing happened. Meanwhile, countries like France, Japan, and later China turned high-speed rail into national hallmarks. Even the US, the country everyone loves to roast for bad public transit, started operating a train that could outrun anything in Canada. By 2003, Canada officially became the only G7 country without a single high-speed rail line, and it stayed that way for more than 20 years. The closest thing to progress came in 2021 when Prairie Link was announced, a proposed Calgary-Edmonton bullet train. It was exciting, sure, but it wasn't exactly national revolution material, and it ran into the usual Canadian issues: funding problems, political hesitations, endless studies. As of 2025, Prairie Link still hasn't broken ground. So when Alto was announced, you can imagine why Canadians didn't immediately bust out the confetti. After decades of broken promises, it's understandable people are skeptical. Political cycles flip, budgets balloon, and massive multi-year megaprojects have a habit of turning into political footballs. But here's where things feel different this time. Unlike past attempts, Alto isn't just a study or a plan or a collection of nice press photos. It's backed by a federally created crown corporation whose entire job, its whole reason to exist, is to build this thing. It has committed funding. It has international partners through the Cadence Consortium. It has widespread public support, especially from younger Canadians who overwhelmingly want greener, faster, more modern infrastructure. And perhaps most importantly, the Canadian government is treating this not as a nice-to-have, but as a crucial move for national competitiveness, climate goals, and economic resilience. If Alto succeeds, Canada instantly jumps from last place to having the fastest train in the Americas. Beating the US Acela by a wide margin, cities like Montreal and Toronto could see explosive growth. Tourism and business travel would skyrocket. A trip from Ottawa to Toronto could drop to little more than an hour. Entire regions could become more interconnected, more economically balanced, and more attractive for investment. It's the kind of project that doesn't just change travel, it changes how a country thinks about itself. But, and this is important, Alto isn't a sure thing. Construction hasn't started, governments change, priorities shift. Costs could blow past the already astronomical estimates. Canadians have every reason to be hopeful, and every reason to be cautious. Still, if any project is going to break the cycle of almost but not quite, it's this one. Alto is the biggest leap forward the country has ever taken in rail. And honestly, after half a century of watching the rest of the world zoom ahead at 300 kilometers per hour, it's about time Canada joined the ride. And hey, if you're excited about this mega project, or even if you're skeptical, drop a comment below. Do you think Alto will really get built? Will it transform Canada? Or is it destined to become another expensive chapter in the book of unrealized dreams? Let me know what you think. Hit that like button if you're enjoying this deep dive, and subscribe for more mega project breakdowns just like this. Because trust me, we're just getting started.